just saw, unfortunately, I did not get my hands on Frank Ocean's coveted cock ring worth $25,000. Although personally, what would be even better than a $25K cock ring for me is a new album. It's actually quite comical that around the 6-year anniversary of Blonde's drop, Frank decided to drop this instead of a new project. I found it pretty funny and actually kind of troll-like of Frank to do this, but it seems like fans are actually pretty pissed off. Even saying it's the last straw, complaining about his lack of music, poor merchandise quality, and general indifference towards his fans. However, I would argue, and I'll actually show you by the end of this video, how Frank could give little to no care to his fans, and they'll still worship him nevertheless. A lot of artists who enter the mainstream usually conform to the wants of their labels. This can come through by sacrificing their artistry or even having their debut album shelved for months or even years. But not Frank. He has always marched to the beat of his own drum, starting all the way back in 2011 when he released his debut mixtape, Nostalgia Ultra, for free. Although he didn't necessarily want to release this project for free, he pretty much had to. The reasoning for this was due to Frank having just recently signed to Def Jam Records, and after doing so getting zero support for his debut album, and even having Def Jam disallowing him to release it anytime soon. So, Frank, being the bold artist he is, decided to go on his own and release Nostalgia Ultra outside of Def Jam as a free mixtape. Funny enough, after releasing Nostalgia Ultra, Def Jam was scrambling to try to sign Frank, not knowing that they already signed him under his real name, Lonnie Bro. After Nostalgia Ultra's release, Frank tweeted his feelings about his label, and it's safe to say that those feelings were far from positive. Post Nostalgia Ultra, Def Jam would mend the relationship with Frank, who would then go on to release his debut album, Channel Orange, under their label. Like Nostalgia Ultra, Frank would release Channel Orange in a defiant way. That Frank is a bold guy. Just a few days prior to the album's release, Frank wrote a note on his Tumblr opening up about his sexuality. He wrote about his first love at 19 with a man. You have to realize it was a different time in 2012 where being openly bisexual in rap or R&B was very uncommon and scary for an artist to admit to. So for Frank to do this just days prior to Channel Orange's release showed how much of a courageous artist and person he was. Frank's music was exceptional. Nostalgia Ultra slaps, Channel Orange banger, but fans were also flocking to Frank for his boldness and defiant personality, which is seen by both of these projects' releases. Soon enough, a cult-like following of fans began to form, essentially worshipping Frank Ocean. Later that year, Channel Orange would win a Grammy, and the world began its long and eager wait for Frank's next move. Enter the era of Mysterious Frank. The year is 2015, and Frank Ocean is one of the biggest artists in the world. Fans are hungry for new music, Reddit forums have popped up to try to decipher when we'll get it, and Frank Ocean's in the middle of it playing into all this hype. After years of silence, in April 2015, Frank would set the internet ablaze with just 4 words and a single photo. Those words read, "I got 2 versions," with the hashtags Issue 1, Album 3, July 2015, and Boys Don't Cry, which would seemingly indicate that his next album titled Boys Don't Cry would finally drop in just a few months. Billboard even confirmed with Frank Ocean's rep that there was an album and a magazine coming in July. However, July came and went, and there was no magazine or album. Fast forward a year later, and Frank would create absolute mayhem by posting a single image of a library card on his Tumblr. Featured on the library card are multiple dates, with the last being July 2016, again seeming to indicate that this album would release later that month. And again, Frank crushed fans by not releasing the album. However, the cryptic rollout had just begun. On August 1st, Frank Ocean's Tumblr featured a stream of a man woodworking in a warehouse. This stream was up for 2 weeks, and then on August 18th, the live stream began shuffling through new Frank music, and at midnight, a link to Frank's new visual album, Endless, went live. Fans lost their minds and were listening and taking in all this new material, and as this was going on, another miracle would happen. Just the next day, Frank would drop again. This time would be a full, traditionally formatted album titled Blonde. It would be revealed later that this double drop by Frank was intentional. After releasing Endless, Frank had fulfilled his obligated albums under his Def Jam contract and was legally independent. This meant the revenue he generated from Blonde would go directly to him rather than split amongst the label. Unsurprisingly, we again saw Frank release in a defiant way, and in doing so, he got the last laugh in his and Def Jam's relationship. The success of Blonde, mixed with Frank's bravado demonstrated in standing up against societal pressures as well as his label's oppression, mixed with his enigmatic allure in pop culture, formulated this perfect combination to create an over-obsession by fans. Post Blonde, Frank didn't tour outside of a couple of shows and has since not released any more projects or done more than a couple of interviews. Frank's ability, intentional or not, to carry himself so inconspicuously has, in my opinion, created this harsh feedback loop within his fan base. Essentially, the fans want more of Frank, which makes Frank become more reclusive, which then makes fans want more of him. And the cycle continues on and on and on and on and on. This allure of mystery in pop culture is nothing new, and as of late it actually seems to be the most effective form of promotion. Just as it works so well with Frank's release of Blonde, it's worked similarly well for many other artists. For instance, Beyonce's 2013 surprise album that dropped with no prior announcement is her second highest selling album of all time. Kanye's rollout of The Life of Pablo was anything but smooth, but everyone was along for the ride. And Kendrick Lamar's Mr. Morale and The Big Steppers had the most mysterious rollout of all his prior projects. From the PG Lang pen letter stating it came from the desk of OK Llama, an unknown character, to the cryptic photo of him holding 2 CDs titled Master Copy Morale and Steppers weeks before the album drop. Like Frank Ocean, Kendrick Lamar has seen his career take on a similar trajectory. At first, Kendrick had to promote his early work by doing various features, interviews, and pop-up shows. But now being so popular, he can simply post a picture and write a few sentences for fans to lose their mind and start formulating theories of when we're gonna get a new project. I do it too. When your artistry is that good and you have the fan base to follow, it seems that the best way to promote yourself is to not do it at all. By doing so, or better not doing so, artists create this longing in their fan base similar to that Frank Ocean feedback loop I described earlier. All artists who have created longevity in their careers have taken their brand as an artist and made something more of it. Like Rihanna starting her Fenty cosmetic brand, Kanye starting Yeezy, and Frank Ocean with Blonded, and even more recently his luxury brand Homer. By diversifying their revenue streams, these artists don't need to just rely on their music to rake in cash, but rather can rely on the personal brand they've built up over the years to sell other commodities of which their millions of fans will eat up, myself included. Frank realized this shortly after dropping Blonde. He started selling Blonded merchandise where drops would include vinyls, t-shirts, and posters, all selling out within minutes of dropping. Even the accompanying magazine Boys Don't Cry, which was released for free alongside Blonde, was re-released in 2019 for $80. I'm going to make a guess here, and I'm pretty confident I'm right, that the amount of money Frank has generated from his merchandise alone has surpassed any amount he's made from releasing music, maybe even up to tenfold. As of late though, it seems like Frank has been caring less and less about his fans' perception of him. Posters have been delivered all crumpled up, vinyls aren't delivered for months or ever at all, and with the launch of Homer, it seems like he's not directing his attention to the vast majority of fans, but rather a select few willing to dish out thousands of dollars for Frank Ocean branded jewelry, including the cock ring. So yes, it doesn't seem like Frank cares anymore, at least doesn't care about the general fan. And I can totally see how people can get so upset by this, but I personally don't feel any ill will towards him. I would like to think that Frank's really appreciative of his fans, but honestly, it's pretty hard to tell. I mean, he hasn't toured, nor treated his merchandise with any care, so really, I just don't think Frank cares what his fans think, and honestly, he doesn't have to because his fans will always be there. This mindset of his has been his agenda all the way back to Nostalgia Ultra days. Frank's going to do what's best for him, and if that means selling expensive luxury jewelry to rich fans, then yeah, he's gonna do that. So as fans, no matter how much we complain about him not touring, not releasing new music, only accommodating the rich, or whatever else, we the fans who feed right out of his hands are really the ones to blame. And I'm not pointing fingers either, because I'm definitely one of those fans, and even in knowing that, it's really hard for me not to be. These are just my thoughts though, and I really want to hear what you all think of this. Leave a comment below and make sure to subscribe to Tofu Media for more content. Thanks for watching.